Hi, this is Ross from SDS. Today I'm going to show you how to drill and tap your flywheel for the SDS trigger magnets. And we'll get started here, just showing you how to first mark the flywheel so we don't make any mistakes. As you can see here on this flywheel, here's the top dead center mark denoted here, number 1, and we're going to start numbering in a clockwise direction from this hole. So this hole is marked number 1. So I'm just going to continue marking these holes here, starting at the top dead center mark here. This will be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. Okay, so on a 4-cylinder flywheel, we are going to put the drilling block through holes 6 and 7 here first, and the drilling block goes on like this. So put the bolts through, make sure you've got the nuts snugged up there. And the first thing we're going to do is just run a drill bit through the hole here. We just want to make sure, turning it lightly by hand, that the tip of the drill is right in the center of the shoulder here, right here. So I'm just going to show you how to do that. So we're just going to take our drill bit here and run it through the hole here. Just rotate it lightly a few times. We're going to take the block off, and we just wanted to look at it here. I don't know if you can see, but we want to make sure it's dead center on that shoulder there. So just make sure you got a little mark there. If you do, then the block is all good, and we're good to start drilling here. So we're going to take our number 29 drill bit, our air drill here, and we're just going to drill through the hole, right through the flywheel here. Okay, so I've removed the drilling block, and right adjacent to this hole here, we're going to mark this here as 1T, so that's number 1 trigger. And we're going to move the drilling block over one set of holes into holes 7 and 8 here. 7 and 8. This will be for the sync magnet. Snug the bolts up. And we're going to drill right through again. I won't bother showing you the whole process, exactly the same as the last hole we drilled. And when you're drilling these, like you saw me do there, you'll have to clear the chips out. The hole is quite deep. The chips build up in the flutes of the drill, and you want to clear those out so it goes in a lot easier. Okay, so there's the first hole we drilled. Second hole. This one's for the sync magnet, so we're going to mark that with an S here. So now we're going to set up the drilling block on holes 12 and 1, and you'll notice that that's going to put it straight across from the first hole we drilled here, which is for number 1 trigger. This one's going to be straight across. So we put the block on holes 12 and 1 here. So there's the block bolted on holes 12 and 1, and we're going to run our drill back in here again, just like the other 2 holes. Drill straight through. And that last hole we drilled, we're just going to mark that 2T here. That's right beside the TDC mark, number 1. Okay, we've got our 3 holes drilled here, and try to show you this up close. Hopefully it shows up okay. You can see the holes are right through the middle of the shoulder here, and that's important. I'm going to deburr the inside and the outside. Then we're going to get ready to tap these holes from the outside with an 832 tap, which is supplied in the kit as well. And we're going to start out by lubricating that with some tapping fluid. Very important. You absolutely don't want to break the tap off in these holes. That will create a world of hurt for you to try to get that tap out of there. Okay, I'm going to tap number 1 trigger hole here. Put the tap straight in. Usually turn it in about 5 turns or so, and then break the chips, back it up about half a turn. And just go slow, you're in no rush. If you feel a lot of resistance, back the tap right out and clean all the chips out of the flutes and start over, keep going. So once you're in all the way there, you can back the tap back out. That's 1 hole tapped, and between each tapping you definitely want to clean all the chips off that tap there. So I just brush them off. Relubricate with tapping fluid again, very important. Then we're set to do number 2 hole here, which is a sink magnet hole marked S. And basically just a repeat of the first one, so I won't go through all that again. Okay, once the 3 holes are tapped, we're going to blow them out with air. So you want to don your eye protection and ear protection. Next thing I like to do is shoot some alcohol or acetone backwards through the holes here. Want to dry out all the cutting oil out of the bores if we can. And just blow the holes out so everything's nice and dry. So this procedure was for a 4-cylinder flywheel. For a 6-cylinder flywheel, we're going to drill 4 holes instead of 3. And they'll go through 6 and 7, just like the 4-cylinder. 7 and 8 for the sink magnet. 10 and 11 for the number 2 trigger. And 2 and 3 for the number 3 trigger. Other than that, everything else is the same. Okay, now that we've got the holes all dried out, cleaned out, next step is to test fit the magnets. And we want to take our Allen set screws here. We want to run one of them into each hole. I'm just going to do that right now. Just going to run the first one in here. We're going to take one of our magnets here and put it in from the other side, from the inside. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I've got the magnet in the bore there now. I'm just going to tighten the Allen screw in until the magnet's just flush, probably 10 or 15 thou below the surface. You can see how these are just kind of lining up with the radius that I put on there when I deburred them. So they can be anywhere from flush to 10 or 15 thou below. And once you get all three of them set, you're on to the next step. And just to be clear, we're just putting one set screw in each hole at this time. We're going to put the second ones in after we put epoxy on the magnets and let it set. So just to make things very clear, I've also taken a Sharpie marker and marked each hole with the same denotation we had when we drilled the holes here. So this is number 2 trigger. On the other side, got the sink hole and the number 1 trigger. We need to know this to put the magnets in the correct polarity. So the magnets are marked with a blue end, and on the trigger holes, the 2 triggers, the blue end faces inside, the inside of the flywheel here, and on the sink hole, the blue faces away from the inside, so towards the outside. Very important you get that right. So that's why we're marking these again. Okay, next step is to mix up a small amount of 5-minute epoxy. Make sure you mix this up really well. Okay, we're going to take our epoxy here, take a fairly big drop and put it into the number 1 trigger hole here first. I want to fill it up about kind of halfway, so we want to have enough epoxy so it oozes out when we put the magnet in. So this is a number 1 trigger. You want to make sure the blue end is facing into the flywheel here, so we're looking at it. So the magnet will suck into the hole there because it's attracted to the ferrous set screw. We're going to take a little bit of acetone here and just wipe the excess off. Do the sink magnet next here. Again, a fairly big drop of epoxy into the hole. This time the blue end will face the outside, in other words opposite to the one you just put in. And once that magnet sucks itself into the hole there, the excess epoxy comes out. We'll wipe that off again with our acetone. Turn the flywheel around here. Number 2 trigger. Again, another big drop of epoxy into the bore. This magnet will go in with the blue facing inwards again, just like the number 1 trigger magnet, which is 180 degrees across from this one. Once that one's in all the way, we'll wipe that off with acetone again. Basically, that's it for the magnets. We're going to let the epoxy set up for about half an hour, and then going to show you how to put the second set screw in. Okay, once the epoxy's set up, we can put the second set of set screws in. We've got the set screw here. We're going to put a really small drop of blue Loctite on it, on the threads. We're going to run that into the hole here. And we're just going to snug that up. It doesn't need to be super tight. It's not going anywhere. And I'm just going to repeat that for the other two holes. And that's really about it. Once you're done that, you're all ready to go. You can bolt the flywheel back up to the crankshaft propeller flange. And there's a master lug. Make sure that you line that up with the slightly larger lug and the prop hub. And everything else should be good to go from there. Hope that was informative, and doing another video next week, hopefully. Thank you.